City of Marine City Commission meeting is called to order on Thursday, July 11th, 2024 at 7 o'clock p.m. We have a moment of silence to send our positive thoughts and prayers to those in our community that need our support. And now please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Didn't get it.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can we get roll call, please?
Commissioner Bryson. Here. Commissioner Hendrick.
Here.
Commissioner Clausen.
Here.
Commissioner O'Brien. Here. Commissioner Rory.
Here.
Commissioner Ross. Mayor Vandenbosch.
Here.
City Manager Atkins.
Here.
And can I get a motion to excuse Commissioner Ross? He had a long-standing engagement when we set this meeting.
So moved.
Support.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. And now for approval of the agenda, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Public comment. Anyone is welcome to address the City Commission. Please state your name. Limit your comments to 5 minutes. The Commission will not respond, but we will follow up as necessary.
Mike Frank. I tried to get the agenda packet from online, and what is there is absolutely not what is on this list. This is a big problem. You guys got to figure this out. I'm not really sure why the clerk decided to fix something that wasn't broken and upgrade the website, because it was very accessible. It was very easy to find agendas. It was very easy to find minutes. It's very easy for all of that. And now it's just a mess. Like, if you pull up the agenda for tonight, like, it doesn't have any financial disclosures. The actual agenda isn't even correct. Like, there's nothing on there for unfinished business. Like, what's going on, guys? Let's get it together. Like I said before, you guys are all patting each other on the back like everybody's doing a great job, but that's not true. Our city website's a mess. We got half of South Bell River there. That neighborhood is terrified that their houses are going to be taken from them and somehow given to the marina there with these various blight violations, and they're feeling like they're being targeted. They're feeling like they're being attacked over there. I've gotten messages from 3 different people since I went to the Dangerous Board of Appeals meeting yesterday when they were trying to, well, who was trying? It doesn't matter, but I spoke with somebody in the office yesterday who actually was very, very kind and very accommodating. I really did appreciate that, so I won't put them on blast. But they made a comment that was kind of upsetting, that they hoped that the Dangerous Board of Appeals would move this particular issue onto the commission so they would take action. And I'm not sure why you would hope that you would create more hardships for people that are already having hardships. And I'm talking about the people with the blight on South Bell River there who was going through some health issues and having trouble cleaning up their property. I mean, we have to start actually engaging with our citizens. That's the problem. Probably 5 out of 7 of you guys on this board don't get into the community at all. The city manager, I know, surely doesn't. So you guys sit up here with these impressions of what's going on, and it's not the reality. The reality is we have a code enforcer in town who is going around just being a jerk to everyone. Everyone. Jim Schaefer has had issues with everyone. He doesn't even know the codes. He tried to harass a citizen last summer over an RV in a business parking lot. There's no code against an RV being in a business parking lot. There's only a code against an RV being in a residential parking lot. He doesn't even know the own codes and ordinances of this town, let alone Tracy, the building inspector, who I hear about constantly how much he harasses people, constantly how much he's a pompous a-hole. Why are these people still here if this town does not like them? When is the accountability going to come into play here? When are you guys going to start making moves when people come to these podiums with issues? This stuff starts to need to be, there has to be accountability. The police chief, who I wanted to be our police chief, came to this podium in front of you guys and told you about an investigation that he didn't tell anybody about. There should be some accountability there. There should be some policies put in place that won't happen again, like there was the last time he went to the newspaper and said things that he shouldn't have said. There was a policy put in place that he couldn't do that. But again, no accountability. But I'm assuming the city manager doesn't much care because he's only going to be here till September anyways. Come on, guys. We got people in this town that are not doing well, that feel like they are being harassed, they are being targeted, the same crap that's been going on forever. And when they see you guys all up here patting each other on the back that everything's going great, it's just like spitting in their face. It really is. I understand things are going better in their offices. It's not going better in this city. It's not. And if you guys got out there and actually talked to people, got into businesses, you would know that. Lisa, start telling some of these people what's going on around here. Start asking some questions. Start bringing back the Lisa we used to know.
Okay, anybody else? Anyone else, public comment? Mr. Schmidt?
Good evening. I just wanted to take this time, Jeff Schmidt, formerly 514 South Parker. I just wanted to take a minute to come in and thank all of you for your support and for the opportunity that you've given me here. All of you have been very supportive, and it's really appreciated. Sean, you've stepped in and done a great job since we got rid of, well, for lack of a better term, the pompous a-hole. I just wanted to let you know that the city's in a really good place as far as across the board, DPW, City Hall, police, fire, everybody truly cares about the city. And not every city can say that, so we're very fortunate to have that. And that's a reflection of all of you. And I've been in local government for 39 years, and Scott Atkins is the best city manager that I've ever been associated with in that time. So, Scott, I appreciate that. Mr. Aaron Atkinson, not to be confused with Mr. Scott Atkins' son, who couldn't be there this evening. He's stepping in to take over for me, and I just want to let you know that I have all the confidence in the world in this gentleman. He's going to do a great job. He's done everything that we've asked of him and more, and you're in a good place with him in charge. And again, I just wanted to thank all of you for all your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, nobody else? We're going to move on to approval of the minutes. I have a motion to approve the city commission meeting minutes of June 20th, 2024.
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I have a motion to approve the city commission closed session meeting minutes of June 20th, 2024.
So moved.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? On to number 7 for the consent agenda. We have the Marine City Area Fire Authority Run Report, the departmental monthly activity reports, special event permit for Marine City High School Homecoming Parade on September 29th, 2024, the special event permit for 10 Years 5th Annual Car Show and Customer Appreciation Day on September 8th, the approval of the application for the public fireworks display for Maritime Days. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through E as presented.
Make a motion, we approve the consent agenda, letters A through E as presented.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bryson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Brien.
Yes.
Commissioner Rourke.
Yes.
Mayor Vandenbosch.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, and we have no items removed from the consent agenda, so we'll move along to 9 for financial business. We have expenditures including payroll at $283,501.32. Have a motion to approve those expenditures in that amount, including payroll.
of $283,501.32.
Make a motion, we approve expenditures, including payroll, for $283,501.32.
Support.
Okay, any discussion?
I just have a question. The Sinclair Recreation LLC, was that for the park,
That's the tot lot
the
install.
tot lot? Okay, just wanted to make sure. That's it.
All right, can I roll call vote, please?
Commissioner Hendrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Brien.
Yes.
Commissioner Rourke.
Yes,
Mayor Vandembosch.
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, on to 9B for the preliminary financial statements for June 2024. Do I have a motion to receive and file those financial statements for June 2024?
So moved.
Support.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. On to annual general staff payroll adjustments. And would you like to?
There's a memo that's included in your packet with requests for adjustments for the clerk, treasurer, and then the 3 administrative employees in the office. These items were budgeted with the general adoption of the budget. However, specific wages are to be set individually by the city commission by separate action. So again, what's in the budget is a framework for expenditure. These are specific requests. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you may have regarding these.
What are all the percentages that they're at? I know some of them are just listed by hour or by annual. What
Yeah,
does that break down?
for the most part, the overall framework in the city, including union contracts, is anywhere from 3% to 4%. That is exclusionary. Actually, it does exclude the clerk and treasurer. Their wages are set based on their individual contract. They both were set at $68,000 last year upon hire, but that determination comes back to the city commission for any wage adjustments on theirs. So they're not covered by any other contract. The general office employees generally follow what is set in the budget, and these are proposed for senior clerk, admin clerk, and general clerk at 4%, between 3.5% and 4% for those positions. Again, in line with what the union contracts are. City clerk and treasurer are set at just about 8%, again, covering from their initial contracts to now. So they don't follow any other framework. That's an action by the commission, so this is a recommendation.
And then we just, Chief Heslop just got his first increase in 8 years at 4%.
Recently,
Those
yes,
just did, too.
that was approved at the previous meeting, I believe, along with a contract amendment.
Okay.
And again, when it comes to the administrative employees, if the wages aren't clearly spelled out with an annual increase in their contracts, being the police chief, the clerk, treasurer, then it's subject to coming back to the city commission, either on an annual basis or periodically. And I believe that was the chief's case. It hadn't come back annually for quite some time, so we did do a first amendment to his original agreement from 2016, I believe.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Go ahead.
So the contract has steps for increases built into it.
It has
Also.
steps for additional stipend increases for attaining certain certifications. So
Correct.
again, certified clerk, first year academy, treasurer, first year of the Treasurer's
Yes.
Institute. So yes, there are some steps built in for attaining those individual certifications.
But for these two, we're looking at 8% and everybody else is at 4%.
It would equal that percentage. And again, those numbers are based upon a request based upon other like-sized communities and like-sized work, which is very difficult because every community, when you have a clerk or a treasurer, they're not necessarily doing the same type of work in Algonac as they're doing in Marine City, as they're doing in St. Clair, as they're doing in Clare or Harrison. So it is a very difficult and moving situation because we know what the work is done here, but we don't necessarily know all of the pieces in the other communities.
Well, and even in the other communities, sometimes you don't know how long those people have been there. They could have been there a long time,
That's
you know,
correct.
and they could have a lot more certifications than, well, whatever.
That's correct. Again, those pieces are not known. Even when a annual wage survey is put out, there are so many different nuances from community to community. It's
Yeah.
very difficult to sort.
I mean, I know all of our staff, they're all working super hard, and I get the raises and that, but I'm concerned about
the impact it'll have on the other employees with that increase compared to, I mean, I gotta look at Jim there again, 8 years. Sorry, Jim, 8 years though. So it's a little tough, we have to be careful with everybody else.
And again, it is always the decision of the commission to take any recommendation, not take any recommendation, or set any parameters that you feel, even though they're in the budget. Anything that exceeds the budget, obviously subject to a budget amendment, but these would not be the case that these are anything of a lesser fees.
So I want to raise a couple of questions. First, you have the line in the memo here that the proposed adjustments are reflected in the recently approved budget. And so we've discussed as if we will, when we approved the budget, with the cushion in here, expecting to potentially raise to this rate. Does that sound correct?
So you approve the budget and the line items as a whole, but not an individual breakdown?
Right.
Specifically. So yes, you've already
But we
approved
budgeted for this.
a dollar amount framework for wages.
Okay, let me add on to that. Normally, in prior budgets, when we do that, at the end of each section, like at the end of the treasure section or whatever, it normally states in there what raises we're giving those employees. Because the problem with our budget is you can't go in and figure it out because it's split up between so many accounts.
Right.
So then we have the other chart, the wage and benefit chart, but it was never stated in there, because if I would have saw that, I would have questioned it back when we had the budget.
And
I didn't see it, and we should have a line item in there.
I think you had a framework that said that what the proposed wages were, that number was there in the wage chart.
Yeah,
But not knowing, and I think what you're saying is, where were the current wages? Because that table isn't there
Yeah.
for any of the positions. You have what the request for the budget approval is,
Yeah.
but you don't have a look back at what's your current hourly rate or what is your current annual salary.
Yeah.
That piece is not reflective in the budget. And I don't think it has been in the past, but should be moving forward.
They used to put it in there at the end of, like I said, of each section of each department. It would specify in there always what the percentage was for the increases for those employees.
And I think that would be helpful, knowing the current wage, what a percentage is, and the dollar amount.
Exactly, and that's why it was so hard, and I had to get that wage and benefits chart because you could never figure it out. And even with that, it's very difficult unless all those figures are up to speed. So, and the other thing is, even though we approve that in the budget, that doesn't mean that's what everybody gets.
no, I agree, and I acknowledge that. I wanted to clarify for the public's sake that this has been, the amounts have been theoretically approved in the budget. We're not reopening the budget if we approved this.
Correct.
It's already been allocated and.
You're within budgetary limits.
Right.
Correct. But again, commission has to set the individual wage pieces.
Yeah.
Now, of course, too, I want to point out that should, for some unforeseen reason, we have to replace our city clerk or city treasurer, we don't necessarily have to do it at the current rate. We could always raise the rate for the incoming one or whatever to be competitive. But it is also concerning to me if we're 8% off comparable city clerks and treasurers in the area and trying to replace them in that position. Like, we could skip the raise now, and in the future, if we have to replace one, we may have to go up 8% to be competitive to replace the position. And that's, we either deal with it now or later, it's going to be a burden we have to face at some point.
But again, it is still based on experience and certifications and everything else. So when we hired in, at this point, they didn't have all the accreditations, so then you can't pay the higher wage, until they can.
And of course, we'd be setting that during negotiations with the new worker. And I'm trying to lay out the different angles from which we'd be considering this, because anytime you're dealing with wage, you're not just dealing with the current wage and the current worker, you're dealing with that position, and that position itself is rotating.
Yeah, and conversely, Commissioner, as you said, sometimes you have to go up, sometimes you have to go down. If you have an employee who had been a 20-year employee and they're at X dollars, your new employee, and I believe that's really where we were in the recent hirings. You looked at where's our starting point for new employees coming on, and that's where the wage was set in the initial contract, which may have been lower than people who were before. That happens as well.
So can you speak to these steps in the contract about certifications, like these kind of watermarks of where we would be increasing the rate, where we're at in comparison to that?
I will speak as best as I can, and I can provide you additional clarification because I don't have the contracts in front of me. But in particular, for the clerk's office, the clerk has built-in steps for stipends that when he attains first level of the Municipal Clerks Institute, there's an increase of, let's say, it could be $500. When you get to the next year, then you have an increase of maybe $1,000. So there are steps built in. Same for the treasurer. When the treasurer attained the first year of her Municipal Treasurers Institute, then she would get an extra X amount of dollars next year, and then third year, because these are generally, and correct me if I'm wrong, Katie, a 3-year program on treasurer. Is it a 3-year program on clerk as well? So there are 3 steps built in as a stipend. So it doesn't go on to the hourly wage, it's just an annual stipend piece. But each of those are built in.
And we've been participating in these programs.
Yes, actively.
We built those in contractually to motivate and inspire people to achieve higher certificates. And we've been doing that with the contracts. It's an automatic, it doesn't come back for approval. If they achieve that goal contractually, they get the increase.
Right.
Well, I was wondering, what would we deal with our union guys? And we're giving them 3%, and they said, well, how come you're giving 8% to our office staff, and we can't even get 3%?
Yeah, and I think in those vary, again, we're 3.5%, 4%, because they're each negotiated differently on a collective bargaining, but you're correct. I mean, those are.
It may bite us.
And if I may, Mayor, I just want to, again, I want to touch on the point, again, when you're trying to look at comparables, which I got some information, they're all over the page. I mean, you will see municipal clerks of like-sized communities, some smaller, like-size or even a little bit smaller. Some of them may be a part-time or a 3/4 position, but full-time, the range is anywhere from, 45,000 to 103. So it's very difficult, like I said, to be able to find a fair comp on the, that's on the clerk side. On the treasurer side, it's almost the same. You're anywhere from, 50,000 to 94,000. So there's no perfect balance in the comparables, so I think you do have to look at it individually, community by community, job by job, position by position. And I think you said the key is not so much the person, but the position that you have to look at too. So there's no perfect science.
I would agree that they're doing a fantastic job, obviously, and I would agree to something, but I would like to see it more comparable to everybody across the board.
Our general union contracts, again, are 3.5% to 4%, depending on which union, and general employees, roughly the same frame. When I say other general employees, office staff, part-time, DPW 3/4 position, so they generally follow that path. They're different jobs, they're not administrative jobs, but that's what they follow.
And that 3.5% to 4%, that's not adjusting for inflation in any way. That's just an annual.
It's just a flat annual amount, July 1st each year.
No employer likes discussing COLAs, cost of living adjustments, because they get very scary for budgets very fast. But this is something worth, and even for our union workers, to be considering, that a 3.5%, 4% pretty much has been sticking with inflation. And with COVID, it was a little shy of what inflation was. And so these annual increases aren't increases. They're increasing the dollar value to the wage of what people had been making because of inflation. And so even for our union workers, if they're getting 3 to 4%, we're bringing them in line with their value. We're not increasing them for sticking with us for a year. That's not a raise. That's not an increase on their actual income. And whether it's just for this an 8% consideration or for our other workers, that should be something that we should be considering as ethical employers.
When you figure these comps, and you're going to treasurers that are getting $80,000 and $90,000, they're also in your townships. They're also your commissioners. That's it, and that's one of the things I run into in the townships, that they come in and they get a $30,000, $40,000 job, and they don't have to be there. So what do you do, you know? I mean, so taking them comps, that really doesn't comp what's going on.
Bill, you're talking about situations where the clerks and treasurers are elected
Right,
as opposed to contractual, right?
yeah, but if you take their wages
I
as
understand.
part of they're out of line, way out of line.
Right.
Was that part of the comparison for these ones?
Yeah, I didn't look at townships. We pulled numbers from the Michigan Municipal League. Specifically, they do an annual wage study of cities and villages, and that's what we tried to look at. Again, I also tried to look close, but not every community participates in wage studies either.
Right.
And then when you call a community and you ask, can you tell me, what does your treasurer make? Oh, my treasurer makes X dollars. But we also have a city controller or a finance director, so that's a difficulty too. Some communities have two different positions. So we try to find the best fit of the information that's available. And again, it's a request that comes across. It is always the city commission's determination of what we do because it's not addressed in their individual contracts.
Yeah, it's a difficult decision for all of us. I mean, we get it. I know how hard they work, and it's just a difficult thing, but we also have to watch out for everyone, unfortunately.
And that's even the love-hate relationship,
Yeah.
I think, sometimes in union contracts that are mirrored in individual employee contracts with what's known as a Me Too clause. A lot of times you'll see that, but a lot of times the community will not include a Me Too clause because it can go the opposite direction. You know, you could have a corrective action on a union contract saying, listen, we've been way below where we should be, or even an arbitration hearing in some cases where a decision is made, and now, all right, it's a 9% increase to this union, and if there's a Me Too clause that somebody else has, you're now doing that. So there is no perfect science, and that's why the discussion is important, not just at budget, but development of contracts, and annually, once you have a contract, if you don't have any language in there, that's why it has to come to the commission, because there is no built-in language that says, shall be no less than X amount, or shall be here, it's not existing, which is not uncommon in a first-year contract, and your first-year contract lasted 7 or 8 years before we made an amendment. We need to look at addressing those on a more regular basis, too.
So let me ask an additional question. Some meetings ago, Clerk Bell raised that he was undergoing like mental health, what was the phrase, mental health emergency training? Was this, or mental health first aid?
First aid.
First aid. And so are there aspects to these training certificates that we're undergoing that are not covered by the trainings in the contract, right? The certificates and.
Yes.
Yes.
And most of the extra trainings, except for the annual institutes, the ancillary trainings they take are not referenced in their contracts.
Could we get a list of those before we make this decision to see what they've been doing outside of the contract? Outside of the contractual expectations for professional development, to see where that's going in comparison?
The contract, Commissioner, does have a clause in there about us helping pay for those types of other developments. And so, yes, you should be able to get a list of those. And then there's a provision of these, not mandatory, but these real identified milestones,
Yeah.
like clerk 1, clerk 2, clerk whatever. And those were, again, put in to motivate going forward.
I think with the size of the decision and the feelings that Commissioner Hendrick has expressed, getting all of this information in front of us to make a fully formed decision on such a intensive increase, especially out of line with the union raises, we should be looking at all of that to see.
So are you making a motion to table till we get that, or?
Mayor, if I can add a comment before you take a motion to. I also think it would probably be in the best interest to have the city attorney look at the contract language for the clerk and treasurer. Because again, they were based on contracts that had been used in the past, which may not be completely applicable. And I think we can address some of those other pieces that just weren't in previous versions. And maybe that's the reset also to do with this. You know, let's look at the existing language. Let's look at possibly building in some type of framework for either merit or annual increases and those pieces. I think it's worthy of doing that because it shouldn't take 8 years to do an amendment on a contract, and this may get us out in front of that.
I have a question. If we table it, it comes back at the next meeting?
if that's what his motion is.
If you set it, you can set it aside to the next meeting.
Yeah, I think that would be the most appropriate path for us, so that we could just, we need a little bit more information to be able to make the determination one way or the other. I think that's fair.
And would everything be retro? We could, whatever the final decision, we'll make it back
Well-
retro to July 1?
To July 1st.
You can include that in a future motion going, the
Yeah, we
direction you
could
wish to.
retroactively apply it,
if you wish to
whatever it is
retro.
that we determine it to be.
But I mean, we're just talking the 2 positions. The other 3, are we,
You can divide them up, or you can set aside the other 3. The other 3 are pretty standard, though, of following, they are non-union, non-admin employees, so they follow the general framework of the same percent as any other employee.
so you can,
Yeah, so the city clerk and the city treasurer at the 8% is the one that we have the most consternation over, and I think that's the one that we should, the 2 positions, we should have more information. So
And you can still act on the other ones.
yeah.
I move that we table this until our next meeting for the city clerk and city treasurer
Support.
revisit.
Any further discussion?
Pardon?
Any further discussion?
Do we need to add in anything about approving or
Yeah.
disapproving the wages for the other 3
Two
positions?
motions.
Yeah.
Or 2,
Yeah,
okay.
we'll do 2 motions. for that.
Okay.
Okay, so we're just voting on the clerk and the treasurer?
Yeah.
You're just
Table-
voting, you're just voting right now to table, set aside till the next meeting.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Clausen?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Brien? Yes. Commissioner Rourke?
Yes.
Mayor Vandenbosch?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick?
Yes.
Motion carried.
I'll still before you are the other
Yep.
issues.
I'll make a motion, we approve the proposed wages increases for the senior clerk, admin clerk, and general clerk.
Support.
Okay, any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner O'Brien?
Yes.
Commissioner Rourke?
Yes.
Mayor Vandenbosch?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick?
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen?
Yes.
Motion carried.
On to 10, unfinished business. We have ordinance 24-004, the Historic District Study Committee and report for second reading and adoption.
I'll make a motion, we approve ordinance number 24-004, the Historic District Study Committee, and report for second reading and adoption.
Support.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Rourke?
Yes.
Mayor Vandenbosch?
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick?
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Brien?
Yes.
Motion carried.
On to 10B, we have the approval for the renewal of the property and liability insurance, and I will ask the city manager to.
Yes, Mayor and Commissioners, you have a couple of memos and some correspondence that have included in the packet regarding our annual renewal of our property and liability insurance. As you can see in my memo, but in more detail in the letter provided by Nickel and Saf, that and continuing, you can see that a comprehensive evaluation was conducted this past year, and I believe last year, with the exception of Commissioner O'Brien, you knew that we had to look at the values of the properties. We had speculated that we were potentially under insured and covered, and from the detail from Nickel and Saf, in effect, when the comprehensive evaluation was done, they found that we were, we'll just call it greatly underinsured for replacement value and contents on a number of our facilities. We actually had a couple of facilities that weren't even included, and including in that is the new tot lot. The previous tot lot wasn't there. So with the adjustments, the increase is approximately a $43,000 increase, about 32%, based upon us having that readjustment. So we really do need to make sure that we are properly insured. This building is a prime example that had we had a devastating loss to the city complex, we would have been insured for only about half of the value of the building here. So these are now adjusted. They use an outside firm that is used by most of the folks in the industry, and the request is to approve the renewal of the annual premium in the amount of $176,465. Our previous was $132,000 and change.
How does this compare to what we budgeted out?
So unfortunately,
More than we were expecting.
we will have to do a budget adjustment. We anticipated being around the realm of 140,000 or so. So we will have to move forward on a budget amendment in the future for the additional amount. I will tell you that we'll have to work very carefully together with the Treasurer Finance Director, because we also had an unanticipated expense recently for litigation to the tune of $35,000, which is darn near close to what the amount is here. So now we're going to be digging for another bucket of change. When I announced that we had the auction of surplus property, we are awash at that. So we're going to have to do a budget amendment, and we're going to have to find the funding, which we will. We have a healthy fund balance, but that means some other things will likely need to be further adjusted and perhaps pushed aside. This is a big obligation and one that is a priority for us.
I got a couple questions. I mean, I'm reading through some of the papers here, and it says that there was 6 claims, 4 are closed, 2 are still pending. I know you can't always talk about whatever, but can we get some type of update?
The claims that we have, anytime that there is an incident, there usually is a reserve set aside and a claim number open. In many cases, some of those never come to fruition.
Okay.
But the money is at least earmarked and set aside on the insurance side in case a claim comes to be.
Okay.
So we have generally, I will tell you, a very low claim ratio here on our property and liability claims, as well as our work comp claims. But we do have a couple that are earmarked that at this point are probably not likely to move forward. As a matter of fact, one of them, I just received a notice at the beginning of the week that our claim has been denied. We're not covered, and that was for some damage to roof and wall structure at the wastewater plant. It's outside of the scope of coverage. So one of those is off. The other, I expect, will most likely be the same.
Some of this expands the coverage. If it happens to expand coverage on this one claim that's still pending, would it fall under the newly agreed upon coverage or the previous insurance contract?
So it likely,
The current space, it would go to the prior contract.
I was going to say, it would go in at the time period because it's locked in at the time when the
Right.
incident occurred. And again, I doubt that one is going to go anywhere either, and that is the smaller of the 2 claims, just so you know. The larger claim has just recently been denied.
I'll make a motion, we approve the renewal of the city's annual property and casualty insurance with Nickel and Saff in the amount of $176,465.
Support.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bryson?
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick?
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Brien?
Yes.
Commissioner Rourke?
Yes.
Mayor Vandembosch?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, on to 11A for new business. We have the public hearing on the zoning ordinance amendment, section 160.315. Notice is hereby given the city commission will conduct a hearing to receive public comments on an amendment to section 160.315 of the zoning ordinance. If you have any comments, please limit it to 5 minutes. And now we'll just declare the public hearing open at 7:38. The commission will not respond, but will accept any public comments. Anybody?
Can we tell everybody what the
Yep, I was
zoning?
going to say, if you'll allow me,
Oh,
this is a very simple text amendment to our zoning ordinance.
Yeah.
However, because it's in the zoning ordinance, we must follow provisions in the Zoning Enabling Act of the State of Michigan, which requires a public hearing, notification in the newspaper 15 days prior, which we've met all of the qualifications. We discovered last year that our text in our ordinance did not fit necessarily with the makeup of the Zoning Board of Appeals and in comparison to the Zoning Enabling Act. So the city attorney and I discussed a quick change. Our previous language read that the board shall consist of 5 members appointed by the city commission. We did have 5. We also had 2 members that were alternate members, but there was no reference in our ordinance for alternate members. The discussion and looking at the best solution was, let us just change that 5 to 7. Let's eliminate any talk of alternate, even though it wasn't spelled out, and just have the board consist of 7 members, which is a common practice in most communities. So it's a very simple text amendment from 5 to 7 and clearing up what did not end up being a complicated issue, but could have been if we had alternate members actually taking action to make a quorum, make decisions, and it would have been contrary to our ordinance and the Zoning Enabling Act.
Doesn't change the role of the ZBA at all.
Doesn't change the members that are currently there.
So, no, if anybody wants to talk on that, that's it.
We've made it more interesting for you.
Yes.
And just one small point of clarification. So the zoning board is made up of 7 members, what we're proposing. 1 is from the city commission, 1 is from the planning commission, and the other 5 are appointed. Is that explained it correctly?
By the city commission.
Appointed by the city commission.
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay, anybody? Once, going twice? Okay, the public hearing is now closed at 7:40. Now we're on to 11B, ordinance 24-005, the zoning ordinance amendment, first reading. Can I have a motion?
Make a motion we approve ordinance number 24-005, the zoning ordinance amendment for first reading.
Support.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Brien.
Yes.
Commissioner Rourke.
Yes.
Mayor Vandenbosch.
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, on to 11C, the approval of bid award for the Safe Drinking Water Project. And turn over to the city manager.
So I'm going to defer to our consultants from F&V who are here this evening to explain in a little more detail the items that have been included in your packet. Again, this is for the Safe Drinking Water Project. We had 2 bids that were solicited. Bids were received here on June 26th, open, reviewed, and we have thus a recommendation from our consulting engineers in regards to this project, and some specific resolutions that are required by Eagle. Did I
Thank
tee
you,
it up
Scott.
for you pretty well?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
For the first bid that we opened, it was for close to 37,000 feet of water main replacement, as well as all lead service lines within the community. There were 4 responding bidders. The TR Peppersack was low bidder. For the second contract, which is an operations contract for the, I believe, the water systems, there were 2 bidders, with low bidder being Midwest Power Systems at $2,121,272.50. We found that the bids were in compliance. Right now, the most important piece of this is getting resolution approval in order to continue on with the Eagle application for the Part 3 approval. Part 3 approval for the the State Revolving Fund for Drinking Water was submitted for initial on the 8th, so we met deadline on that. However, our program manager from Eagle understands that the resolutions were coming out tonight on the 11th, so I have her on notice that she will be receiving them tomorrow if the council so chooses to move forward. That being said, those are hard deadlines from a state funding perspective.
Those are due tomorrow, right?
They are due tomorrow.
Right.
And I believe that I had briefly explained to the commission in the past that because of the shift with our meeting, which would have been on the 4th of July and not meeting, this was putting us pretty much up against the wall. I will add, I think that we were pleased where the numbers came in. This is always a risk when you have a large project like this. When you're looking at what was upwards of a $30 million project, I think that the bids came in, personally, I feel much more favorable than I had expected. So I don't know how you folks felt, but I thought they were very good, very competitive bids, and from a number of local contractors who have done work, if not here, in the immediate area. So we were fortunate.
If I may, so there's a little bit of public anxiety about this whole project and the costs that we're putting in front of the city here. And so with the bid for the one that'll go a little over 16 million and the other that goes a little over 2 million, what other costs down the road are we going to have come up in this project?
So I'll take a partial stab at it. So we're just over 18.3 million, and again, we were projecting to be about 26 million. We have received
Yep.
the nod for a $13 million grant and a $13 million state-backed revolving fund loan, which we will be addressing here in August through the bonding process. The initial cost estimates for the project placed a monthly user charge at a little over $14. Aside from change orders, unanticipated incidents that we could run into, I think we still expect to be below the initial amount of the project. That should significantly drop that monthly user piece, in addition to other financing options that we're looking at. Commission is aware, maybe not so much the public, we've already spent from some of our water sewer reserve funds $500,000 towards initial expenses, and we have another discussion to be had about approximately $250,000 of one remaining invoice. So I think that that's favorable for us. We're doing everything we can to move that number back, as we said from the beginning. And I think we had a very complete bid specification package out there. You have a project like this, you're always going to have unanticipated issues, but a very comprehensive, very detailed, and I think that we should be on target, I would anticipate, of having covered everything, including addressing the most important piece, I've said this before, addressing a administrative consent order that the city is currently under from the state of Michigan by Eagle for the water plant, the water lines, all of these items that, had we not been able to receive the grant and the loan, would have been 100% solely on all of our residents at the tune of about $65 to $80 per month to do this. The grant and loan is a blessing, and we were very fortunate to be able to get that and competitive bids coming in below, I think, the initial expectations.
I think you covered it.
Okay.
I don't have
Thanks.
anything else to add on that front.
So I'll make a motion in regards to the first contract for the water main replacement, that we accept the bid by TR Pepperzak, I apologize if I butcher the name, for $16,130,328.84.
Support.
Okay, motion support and discussion, I think Commissioner Hendrick had something.
I just had one comment. I talked to our city manager the other day because an issue came up at one of our meetings about some lines down farther that were missed, and they will not be included in this project. I want them to know that.
Yeah, we do have, this project will cover about 2/3 of the city, does not cover everything in the city.
Yeah.
It had to be done on a prioritization basis, so we still have some additional water mains that will have to be addressed in the future. That will either be done under our normal capital improvement plan that we are resubmitting to the state an updated plan, or through some other type of future project, but they will have to be addressed at some point. We're taking what's classified as worst first, and then addressing those others. So we had a cap that we needed to stay under with the state of Michigan, so some of those pieces were removed to stay under. Some of those we'll still be able to do as part of our regular maintenance or additional projects.
As additional projects, we can seek further grant funding somewhere down the line for these as well, correct?
Extra grant funding, additional sources that we understand may be coming available after October 1st when the new state budget cycle is in place, so.
So when you say that we have to take care of this sometime down the line, do you have a time frame? I mean, is this like a 3-year need that we're gonna have to do, or a 10-year need? Sooner than
How about a
that?
10 years ago need?
Okay.
I mean, most of the, to be very honest with you, these are needs that go back quite a bit of time. We're tackling the most critical, most important pieces. Those other pieces are important, but on a priority scale, we've got to get the biggest first, the filtration plant, obviously, those pieces, and then we'll tackle. In the case that Commissioner Hendrick was talking about, a couple of these lines are smaller lines. They need to be upsized to larger lines. They have problems because of their age, but they're not unsafe like some of the others, which I use the word unsafe, meaning they are brittle, they could break at any time. It's not an issue of water quality, water safety, but we want to be out in front of that. So these, we have a little extra time, but we don't have forever time. So we need to work on our ancillary project of our capital improvement plan and what other funding sources are available beyond this to make that happen.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Brien.
Yes.
Commissioner Rourke.
Yes,
Mayor Vandembosch.
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Yes.
Motion carried.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract or the bid for the upgrades and repairs to the water treatment plant for Midwest Power Systems for the amount of $2,121,272.50.
Support.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner O'Brien.
Yes.
Commissioner Rourke.
Yes.
Mayor Vandembosch.
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hendricks.
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Motion carried.
That's what I was, yeah. Then we have two resolutions.
All right.
So your next two items will actually be the required resolutions from Eagle, pretty much just reinforcing, reiterating what you've done previously. You've approved the bids, but now we need to approve the specific resolution language. And those will be two separate items.
Yeah, act on them separately.
Make a motion, we approve resolution number 020-2024, Safe Drinking Water Project, contract number 1.
Support.
Any other discussion? Roll
This
call.
is this is the Piper Zach contract.
Correct.
Yep. Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Rourke.
Yes.
Mayor Vandembosch.
Yes.
Commissioner Bryson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Yep.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Brien.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Get a motion for resolution 21-2024, the Safe Drinking Water Project, contract number 2.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 021-2024, the Safe Drinking Water Project, contract number 2.
Support.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Bryson.
Yes.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Brien.
Yes.
Commissioner Rourke.
Yes.
Mayor Vandembosch.
Yes.
Motion carried.
David, we can get those signed tonight. Do you need them?
If you could, I will make sure that the Part 3 application's ticked and tied tonight when I get home.
Would you like me just to email those to you scanned
Yeah,
and signed?
that'd be fine.
Okay,
Is that
Thank you.
right?
Yep, that should be fine.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
We'll have the clerk certify them after the meeting. Sent to you. Thank you.
Okay, on to item F, approval of the DPW Superintendent Employment Agreement with Aaron Atkinson.
I guess I want to start. I just want to thank you for taking this on, Aaron. You've been here a long time. You've always done a really good job. I'm glad to see that he talked you into doing this. I don't know if you're going to be, but I just want to say I really support you. I'm glad you're taking this on, and thank you.
Same thing I would say as well. Thank you for taking this on, and I know Jeff and Scott, we all have the utmost faith in you that you'll be able to get this job done and do it well.
A lot of appreciation for you taking this on. I do have a question for us up here. With the compensation package that we're proposing, how is this comparing to local municipalities with a comparable workload, just so we don't run into the same problems that we've been having?
For an entry first-time position, this is very comparable for a director or superintendent of public works. Again, subject to annual adjustments, likely subject to amendments to the agreement as Mr. Atkinson, achieves other training. I think we've got him teed up for supervisor training already in the fall. Congratulations. So those will be done by amendments, similar to what we did for chief, of having formal amendments in front of you instead of kind of stringing it together by chance. But the compensation package, very good package for this type of job, especially with surrounding communities. And it is the same framework that Mr. Davis has provided to us in the past, so it's a very comprehensive contract.
Thank you.
And I did discuss and provide a draft copy to Mr. Atkinson to make sure that he was comfortable with it. And yeah, he's here tonight, so I think so.
You're okay? All right, good.
All right. Want a motion?
Yep, I get a
I'll make a
motion.
motion that we approve the Superintendent Department of Public Works employment agreement between the City of Marine City and Aaron Atkinson.
Support.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hendrick.
Yes.
Commissioner Clausen.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Brien.
Yes.
Commissioner Rourke.
Yes.
Mayor Vandenbosch.
Yes.
Commissioner Bryce.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Yay, thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Sort of looked like father and son there. It's-
Well, that's an additional requirement for hairstyles here.
We're going the wrong way with those.
Sorry, Sean.
Chief started the trend.
Yes. Okay.
All right, on to administrative reports. First for city attorney report.
City attorney report, I kind of told you guys I had two significant issues at the Supreme Court. One was ruled on about 2 weeks ago favorably. Favorably is when it's good for you. So we had a ruling on the conditional rezoning law in Michigan. We're still waiting on the Supreme Court ruling on the Open Meetings Act with respect to how it applies to local government committees, which I think is going to be an issue for lots of municipalities. So that decision should be coming out in the next 2 weeks. I'll let you know.
All right, city manager report.
Well, you know it. Sorry to take up a lot of time. A couple of quick items. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Attorney. Just want to encourage everyone to support summer activities that are going on in our community. We've got a lot of things coming up here soon, and we really want to encourage our residents to get out and enjoy our community and tell their friends, neighbors, family members to support our local organizations. Maritime Days, Battle of the Bands, Art Fair, just a list of items. And it's very important to our community, it's very important to our businesses and our local organizations. So take a look at our website, we'll post information there. Take a look at the chamber website, visit the Blue Water website, Convention and Visitor Bureau site, and enjoy Marine City at its best. Speaking of Marine City at its best in weather that was not its best, I think I'd indicated that we had a tour from members of the Ralph C. Wilson Foundation, who have contributed and supported our marina project and other projects in the city quite heartily in the past couple of years. So yesterday, we did dodge the remnants of the hurricane and the tropical storms and the winds and the rains, and the folks, about 24 folks came out on a bus tour, toured the city, got great feedback from what they've seen by the new tot lot, our parks, the marina. They were shown a rough rendering of what we hope to have for the future, subject to engineering design and approval by the commission. And at the end, we're told, please keep moving forward on what you're doing. We love it, and feel free to reach out if we can support you in other causes and endeavors. So after a little happy dance, we went, wow, because that's what we committed to do, and to do projects that are top-notch. With that, I will just go a little bit off on this. I have been a city administrator and municipal employee, as you all know, many years. Not as long as this guy's been in the business, but pretty close to his heels. I have spent more time, I believe, trying to justify and provide information to folks that strive to create controversy when none exists and not contribute in a positive way to the well-being of the city. I'm a human being like everybody else, and I'm tired of all of the false information, but I know it's there, and I know it's part of our world. So again, if you allow me to address a few items, I really want to talk about the blight piece first of all. I believe it was a concerted direction from this city commission to do what we can to improve the quality of life in this community. And part of that is having people maintain their properties and take care of cleaning up and addressing blight, dangerous buildings, and the like. And we have done that. And contrary to the feelings of some and opinions of some, it is not a game for us to make money off of our residents through fines and penalties, or to tie up our attorney or the court system in litigation. Our goal is to work with every resident and every business person that may have an issue with blight or a dangerous structure or any other issues to come into compliance. And although we have ordinances that state you have time frames, whether it be 15 days, 30 days, we are always willing and continue to be willing to work with our residents to extend time if progress is being made. Including the dangerous building meeting last night, we take as a last resort, putting items on the dangerous building board meeting for action. We want to resolve these issues prior to that, but sometimes we just can't get there without following that process. And this city commission and other city commissions prior to you have adopted ordinances and regulations, including the International Property Maintenance Code, to keep these properties maintained for the health, safety, and welfare of all residents, not just the occupants. So our meeting yesterday was, I think, a fine example. Unfortunately, we didn't have the compliance, even under extended timeframes on a couple of properties. We sent notification properly by certified mail to folks that were not in compliance to attend the meeting. And at the meeting, we simply heard their case, asked them if they had a plan, if they needed extra time, and in each case, granted extra time. But those cases only came before that dangerous building board because we had failed compliance and failed response in a couple of situations to our letters and our messages to these folks, to in-person visits. Sometimes you have to take those steps, but even in that step, where we could have fined up to $500 on these violations, we could have gone through a court process, we worked with the residents, we gave them extended time, and we're fully confident that they're going to be able to accomplish what we all want. It's having clean, safe properties. And in the one case, once they hit that point, we're going to refund a fine that they had already paid because they made compliance. Because it isn't about making money, it isn't about penalizing residents, it's about working together, and we do work together. And speaking of working together, I don't know about previous managers. I know every manager manages differently. I am out in this community every day, visiting with residents and business people, running into many of you out there. That's part of the job. And, you know, to be accused of not being out there is wrong. I go and I visit our city facilities, engage with our staff. That's part of the job. That's part of being in the community. So I'm not going to change the way that I manage. I'm still going to go out to engage with people in the community. I'm still going to meet with people when they come in. I'm still going to work to address issues. And whether I'm here until the end of this evening, next month, September, whatever the case may be, it's the job that I've always done in the way that I've always done it, and it's always worked. And I get more compliments from people who appreciate that 3, 5, 10, 15 minutes of time face to face. And I'm not changing the way that I work for one person who thinks he knows the world. Amen.
Just to follow up on the blight issue, what the city manager arranged about a month ago was we spent 3 hours in the conference room here with everybody involved, anyone even potentially involved in blight enforcement and follow-ups. And we worked through the system. We looked at prior lawsuits the city had been engaged in. We did not want to have to take a judicial approach to getting people to do things. So we looked at the property code and Bill, you know, we've adopted that. And so, it fits the blight ends up fitting within dangerous building. So we created a stepstone, and we wanted our communications with the people to be the tenor of this city, not the tenor of another major city. So all of our documents that go to people are Marine City in tone, and we wanted to create that tone. So we sat down as a group, and we came up, and your batting average right now is very high with compliance. We've taken a list of blighted sites that was a little bit too long, in my opinion, and we're down to 2, I think, that remain issues, but those are getting resolved, and then your batting average will be very high. So this process that we've developed is in tune with the way your city functions. It's just like your police chief. Your police chief we don't go to prosecutions trying to throw people in jail and ruin their lives. This police chief takes a look at the family, takes a look at who's there at the prosecution. We see if grandma's in the audience. We see the family support system. We work with people. We assign people to the mental court health system the chief recommends so that they can get help, because sometimes the criminal activity is a result of other conditions. So all of these meetings are to keep Marine City, Marine City. And some of the, I received a flurry of text messages this week that raised my blood pressure from high to higher. And it's unnecessary because the information I was getting by text message was false. It was just all false. And it's upsetting to me that we've taken this amount of time to get things right in our criminal system, in our blight system, and then, to have this information out there, it's just baffling to me. But
Well, and I'd like to corroborate with Scott also, because the one case I was contacted to.
sure, you were in the
Because
loop.
I knew her, and, she worked with you, there were some issues, but he followed through and did everything he said he was gonna do to help them. I mean, I don't, I sat through the meeting last night.
Well, it's like, Sean, the things you say during privilege is,
Yeah.
call us. And so people contact
They do.
Lisa on blight issues, and I would encourage people to contact any one of you, and you contact us, and we're gonna work with the people. This is not we're out to destroy their houses.
They're not trying to steal the property.
We're not trying to steal the property for the marina.
No.
We're trying to make everyone's property suitable for everyone else. That's all.
It's important too, if I may, almost each of you have said and encouraged residents to contact us. They are. We actually have the most blight and enforcement activity that I think the city has ever had because of residents reaching out saying, listen, I saw this, can you please address this? Our master plan process, when we went through, those of you that participated in that, which all of you to some degree heard people say as one of the top items, we want to help clean up blight and dangerous properties and fill vacant homes and businesses. And we're doing that. And we're doing it with an approach that we will work with anyone. And when you hear somebody say at a meeting, a public meeting, the city just wants to take your home or wants to put a lien against your property, that is the last thing that we want to do, because taking your home and turning it from privately owned to publicly owned
Where does
has
that
zero
get,
tax
where
dollars.
does that get us?
And a lot of tax money spent to get there. That's not what we want to do. And that's not what we're doing. But we are answering the complaints as they come in, and we're taking an approach that, again, we will work with anyone. Just tell us what your plan is, how can we help you get there, and we'll give you a reasonable time frame to make that happen. And it is working. It is working.
And all the items, regardless whether it's blight or anything else, I know I get a lot of them. I take them to Scott, and he does. He goes right out and looks at them. He drives out and looks at everything. I mean, everything I've ever given you, I know you've gone out, you've reviewed it, you've driven out there yourself, you've looked at it yourself. Even if I bring you pictures, you go out and verify everything. So I don't know how much more you can do, but things are getting done, so.
Anyways, I'm sorry I talked so long on that.
I've got to go out and swim in the river for a log on a picture you sent me
Yes.
today. I'll check that one out later.
God, I would love to watch that.
Yeah, you don't want to see it. It's ugly. Thank you all. I appreciate your patience with me in these reports.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay, reports from department heads. And who would like to start tonight? Chief Heston?
No reports?
Chief Slangster, anything?
Perfect, perfect.
Katie, anything?
Jeff, you're out.
I guess I'm.
Mr. Clerk?
All right, just a few things, and I'll make this very quick. August 1st meeting, commission meeting, will be held at the fire hall due to this room being set up for early voting. Early voting, lead into that, nice segue, is July 27th through August 4th, right here in the Guy Community Center from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. each of those days. Avoid long lines on election day and come and vote early in person. You cast your own ballot just to quell some misconceptions. You cast your own ballot just as if it were your regular old election day for the last 248 years. That's how it works. AV ballots have started to be issued. 523 were issued, 170 returned as of end of business today, which is 32%. That's pretty good on a return rate after 2.5 weeks after being issued.
That's really good.
The amount issued, 523, is actually 58% of our permanent absent voters and permanent ballot list, which is phenomenal, especially
Yes.
for a state primary. So if you have your absent voter ballot, please get that voted and turned in. Ballot drop box right outside. There's a ballot drop box inside the lobby. You can mail it in. You can turn it in person to one of the friendly faces you see in the office as well. Update on the phone system. We are looking at an install date of July 17th, so that is next Wednesday. So please bear with us. There may be some downtime with the phone lines throughout the city at multiple city buildings, City Hall, water plant, police department, and DPW. So bear with us. They've told me the downtime will be slight, but there is a possibility it could be long, depending on how the numbers poured over from Comcast and all of those issues. Another update on the website. We're looking to go live end of July, first week of August. I communicated with our account representative yesterday, and he said July 29th. So we're banking on that. I am fearing that because that is right in the midst of early voting, but we'll do the best we can to get that going live that week or shortly after the August 6th election. And lastly, I just want to remind everybody again, the agendas for every board that we have in the city are online. They're available in their entirety. There are 2 forms to get it. One is agenda, one is agenda packet. You can choose either one. The agenda is just the list of items. The agenda packet is full. Also, I believe I stated this when we went to Granicus, but if you want an alert to when any agenda is published, you can subscribe to it. So if you go on that little block where all of the agendas are, there's a spot to put in your email. You put in your email, you check the boxes of what boards or commissions that you want to select or receive an agenda for. Once we publish that, we hit send on our end. You will get an email that says City Commission agenda is available, Planning Commission, dangerous buildings, so on and so forth. So that is an option as well, that you can be alerted instead of checking that website regularly to see when it is posted.
If I can add to his piece, we both checked after the public comments tonight, and the agenda and agenda packet were right on the website, and each of us clicked independently and got the whole PDF packet. It was right there, and has been there for days.
But you do have to click on the right thing.
And that is all I have. Anybody have any questions? Commissioner O'Brien?
Same phone numbers?
Phone numbers will all be the same. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right, move on to commissioner privilege and liaison reports, and we'll start with Commissioner Clausen.
Well, the planning commission meeting met, and we had 2 items on the agenda. We also, Moran is now off the board, and we have a new chairperson. We have a new person on the board, so we've got 2 new people. It worked out rather good. It worked out good because one thing we were talking about was something that where it was in the factory area or industrial area, and it abutted residential, and there was a holding pond that was put in there, and I wanted to know where the fence was, and they said they didn't need a fence. Yeah, well, by the time the meeting was over, they're giving us the fence, so. And the other one was an industrial property on DeGursey, so we're looking at some growth. And everything else worked out great there, so I mean, I think we've got a good board and we'll continue on. Thank you.
Commissioner Bryson.
2 things. First, I'd like to welcome Aaron aboard. Thank you for stepping up. Look forward to definitely working with you in the future. The second is I want to kind of piggyback off of some of the things our city manager talked about regarding the Dangerous Buildings Board. I sit on that board. Unfortunately, last night I still had a pump pushing drugs into my shoulder. I couldn't attend. I feel that I can speak fairly comfortably for the rest of the board members in that none of us want to take someone's house or property. In fact, we bend over backwards not to. As long as the property owner is just working with us, here's a plan, here's how we're going to address it, it's fine. And even if they don't meet a goal in their plan, but even if there's just a little bit of progress, we'll keep extending it. We'll keep working with them. We'll do everything we can to not have to go to that drastic route. So, I mean, it truly is a last resort to have to seize someone's property. It's nothing that any of us want. So, I mean, for anyone to say that we're using it as a revenue tool or any kind of strong arm tactic really is just wrong. I mean, we will bend over backwards as long as the property owner just shows that they care and are willing to work with us. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Bryan.
Never give a professor a captive audience. So a few different things to go over. First is a liaison report. The Election Commission has approved staffs and chairpersons for early voting, and so we're looking forward to this. Please come out and vote. Don't vote often. Please only do it once, but vote would be good. Next, thanks, Jeff, for all the work you've done for us. Really appreciate your time here and for mentoring and pushing Aaron into the position. Aaron, thanks for stepping up, and we look forward to working with you. We have a great staff in the city. And a lot of folks are wonderful to work with. I've gotten to work with quite a few over the months since I've been a commissioner and getting to know folks a lot more from a different angle. It is really important that people come into this room to make their public comments. I tend to walk my dogs nightly. I run into folks. I get comments about what's needed in the city. I get messages and emails about what's needed. It's not the same as coming forward to the podium and speaking during public comment. When you do this, it puts us all in a hot seat where we all start looking back and forth and going like, wait, did you know about that? Are we addressing this? Where is this at? And while we don't respond directly, it always gets taken up. If you watch the agendas, every issue has been taken up and resolved that gets brought up in public comment. We always address them over time. Part of that not immediate response gives us time to work out good solutions, right? We've had angry citizens come in, and we've worked out deals and the best success that we can for all parties involved. But these attacks, when we use that podium to attack city workers who are not in this room, we are not doing a service to the city. I want to make a comment that my landlord, I'm a renter in the city, and my landlord got a citation for one of these blights. And we're one of the ones on the list. And we were able to, he called me up and he goes, so what's my next step? What do I do now? And I said, well, call the city, sit down, talk about the blight, talk about the problem, talk about the solution, which is exactly what happened. And, so we've been able to move forward and resolve this issue and keep going. Because it's not about taking a house, it's not about citation money, it's not about, taking these in, it is about making the city safe and clean, raising all of our values, raising all of our standard of living, raising what this community is together. So this system works. If you're one of the folks receiving these, please call the city offices, come forward. We're happy to work with you on this. This is how this process works. But our website was horrible. It was really bad. It was really, really bad. Scott, you may recall when I first started contacting you as a concerned citizen over certain issues, part of my problem was that the website was sending me in circles and I could not get the information I wanted to come in and speak about. And it is not there now. We have the agenda packets on Granicus. I always get that agenda packet, but I'm always operating off of the agenda packet on the city page, the same one that all of the public has access to. That's where I go and I check. I pull it up every meeting. The links do work. They're in there. If you come across a link that is broken, if you're not getting a packet to load, please contact our clerk, our city offices, so we can, if it's down, we can fix it or get the packet to you in another way. If you need it printed off for you, please come to the city. So thank you for the hard work on the website and Granicus and the agenda packets. It's made the job much, much easier. One of the last items I want to mention is about those who care. There was a comment that our city manager doesn't care because he's going to be out the door at some point in the future, and this is patently absurd. The city manager cares very deeply about what's going on in this community, making it successful, He has shown that time and time again, both up here and off of this space. That deserves a recognition. Thank you for being invested. Getting to know you and serving with you has made me far more invested in my community than I ever was before I got to know you, Scott. We are also looking at, I don't think I'm letting the cat out of the bag, I believe all of this was publicly discussed, that we may try and bring you back on a part-time basis for specific projects in the future, because the employment doesn't necessarily end when this ends, which shoots the whole argument down that you're not interested because you're not necessarily employed with us. So thank you for everything you've done for us. That needs to be stated. Lastly, I do want to give a pat on the back to this commission, which I don't often do. I usually do it to the workers. Passing this historical zone ordinance, retooling this is great for 300 Broadway. I know the various committees and peoples involved that have been fighting for this have been wanting this for a while, and it's opened up opportunities for what they can do for the city, for 300 Broadway. It's a great way of showing them support that we've come together to pass this one, and it's a great way to show our community an investment and that we care. So thank you all for voting on that. That's it. I'm done now. Finally.
Thank you. Commissioner Murray.
Hi. I attended my first library board meeting Monday, and the next one is October 7th at 6:30 p.m. They continued some discussions from the last meeting. We talked about putting library events on the new city website, and I said I'd talk to Jason about it, and I did, and we're going to see if we can get that done. Also, there's all sorts of events. If you're wanting something for your little kids or teenagers or for yourself, the library has lots of events, and you can see those on the St. Clair County Library.org/event site. They're even going to have a tech drop-in in August, and you can schedule your 15 minutes to bring your laptop or whatever in and ask questions. They're having Animal Magic in August. They have family movie days, Lego Club, Nintendo nights, so you should check all those out, have something for the summer. Thank you, Aaron, for moving up, and we look forward to working with you. And please remember to vote. Right? That's it?
Okay. I want to thank Jeff for all that time you gave us here. You really pulled us out of a bad area. And again, working with Aaron here, it's really great. So thank you so much for the time that you have spent here. And thanks, Scott, for getting them to come here. Because he just did a wonderful job. I mean, he jumped right in. He was a working supervisor. I mean, I know last year when we had some storms, one of my neighbors had a big tree on a house. It was a city tree. He's out there cutting the wood. I mean, you did a fantastic job. And I know Aaron's going to do a good job following in your footsteps. All right, again, I was accused of that I don't do my job the same way. I do. I do the job the same way. I still ask my questions. I still go out, and if people call me up, I still bring stuff to Scott. The big difference now is that we have a city manager that's so competent that it makes my job easier, that I don't have to, I can turn things over to him, and I know it's going to be taken care of. I don't have to bring things to the meeting unless it's something I feel the public needs to know. Then I'll bring it up, even like the water line thing. I'll bring those things up. But, there's just a big difference when you have a really good group working. The city was a mess. The city was an absolute mess until Scott came in here and worked to clean it up. I mean, we were into, for hundreds of thousands of dollars, it's costed the city for bad things. So everybody is working. The jobs are getting done. He goes out into the community. He's just done a lot to bring everything back in line. The board's working good together. So I don't know what more people can do, but when people call me, I still do the same thing that I've always done. So just want to reassure everybody that I don't change my attitude just because of somebody else. So anyway, thanks.
Thank you. Hey, just a couple quick things. Again, thank you, Jeff, for coming here, everything you've done, and congratulations, Aaron. and we're looking forward to working with you. I'd just like to remind everybody, there is still a couple openings on the TIFA board. If anybody wants to apply for those, please do. And again, I was going to mention as well, make sure that everybody comes out and votes for the primary. Not only do we have a lot of candidate selections, but we've got 5 millages on the primary vote that,
Yes.
you know, however you want to vote, but it's very important that you do. There's 5 millages on there. And then I wanted to remind everybody, so on Maritime Days, on the Saturday, there's an event called Married at Maritime Days. And I'm going to marry anybody that wants to come and get married, or if you want to renew your vows. You do need to get your marriage license from the county, and then you register at the city for me to do that, because we have to do that for our record keeping with the clerk. But I'm going to pay your registration fees, and Van Bosch Farms is donating all the decorations. So that's Saturday during Maritime Days. I do have some couples that are registered. So we'd like to get everybody out there that would want to. It's just outside the festival tent by the river, so. So anybody's interested in that, please sign up. I know it's getting close. I don't know how long it takes to get the license from the county, but it is getting close for any new marriages. Or if you're renewing your vows, you can just go ahead and email me and I'll take care of getting registered. Okay. All right, and with that, oh, I forgot, the CED meeting we had in end of June, the 26th. We finished our redevelopment ready best practices. We talked to about a couple different events we wanted to bring in, but we're gonna get some more information on those. And at our meeting in July, we're gonna bring in a special guest that's gonna be here, and we'll have more information on that on the agenda, but they'll be able to provide support and questions if anybody have citizens or businesses that interested in coming to the area, or that are already here.
Now you ready?
And now with that,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Support.
all right, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.